We have 4 present and 3 absent.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I'll make that motion, please.
I'll second it.
Get a roll call, please.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Chairperson Vanden Eyck.
Yes,
Motion passes 4-0.
great. For any reserves for any persons wishing to address the commission for which there is not on the agenda tonight, over which we might have jurisdictions. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. And can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar, please?
I'll make that motion, please.
I'll second.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Heath,
Yes.
Chairperson Vanden Eyck.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay.
Chair, if I may, just
Yes.
wanted to just really briefly note that you might see on your screen or the screen behind you, if you don't see it in front of you, we have a new legal representative that will be here with us for most of our planning commission hearings. That's Epi. I just wanted to introduce him. I know that's not on the agenda. We didn't get that on the agenda in time, but just wanted to formally do that for you tonight. And he'll just be here to help us along and answer questions and help us with legal side of things.
Perfect.
Thanks, Epi.
Thanks for being around, Abby.
Nice to meet all you guys.
Okay, then we will go ahead and move into the public hearing portion of the meeting. For each of the following items, the public will be given an opportunity to speak. After a staff's report, the chair will open the public hearing and invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to make any comments. Members of the public will be invited to provide testimony to the commission following the applicant. Speakers should state their name for the record and can address the commission for 3 minutes. After all the public comments have been received, and the public hearing will be closed, and the commission will discuss the item and take appropriate actions. Can I get any disclosures of ex parte on item number 2?
No ex parte. No ex parte.
No expert.
And none from me as well. So we'll go ahead and have our staff report on item number 2.
So we are here for item number 2. It is a healthcare service use at 1930 El Camino Real. And the project ID for this is use 230099. So this project is located at 1930 El Camino Real. You may know it as the vacant building behind the new Taco Bell that was recently built on Del Rio and El Camino Real. The general plan designation is general commercial, zoning district is commercial tourist, and the lot size, it's a little bit funky. It's split between 2 lots here, one with that building, one with the Taco Bell, but they essentially share parking and other services. So the lot size for that specific lot is around 0.73 acres. If you share it with the Taco Bell lot, it's a little over 1.4 acres. So here's an aerial photo. There is a note in the staff report, but because this is such new development, neither our internal maps nor Google, Bing, any other online map service had maps that included an aerial photo of the existing buildings on the property. So it's just shown as a dirt lot here, but we'll see the building in a moment here. So this proposal is a conditional use permit to operate the existing building at 1930 El Camino Real as a healthcare service facility. As I mentioned, this is the vacant building adjacent to the new Taco Bell on Del Rio. And while the building has individually addressed tenant spaces, the applicant plans to lease the entire building to a prospective healthcare services tenant. So I have this definition here for healthcare services. Obviously, this is very long. I believe in a recent meeting, Planning Commission requested that staff include the land use definition for any minor conditional use permit on the PowerPoint. So if we need to come back to this for reference, then it's right there. So some analysis of the proposed project. Just as a reminder, conditional uses are those uses which may or may not be appropriate based on the specific location or operations of a use. And Atascadero Municipal Code Section 9-3.330 allows healthcare service uses in the commercial tourist zone with approval of a minor conditional use permit. And I believe this was intended because the commercial tourist zone is typically intended for tourist serving uses, things like hotels, gas stations, wineries, restaurants, what have you. And healthcare services are not typically considered a tourist oriented use. However, the site is right across from Del Rio Marketplace. And establishing healthcare services at this proposed location is consistent with the mix of uses in the broader Del Rio area. And so this use being at this location will provide daytime clients and well-paid employees to support nearby tourist-oriented uses. Additionally, the new Del Rio Marketplace project is likely a better fitting location for those restaurant or retail uses that we would typically consider under that commercial tourist zoning designation. Just generally because, I mean, you can kind of see when you look at the site here, it is a little bit tucked in a corner. It's maybe not the best location for a restaurant, for example. So going on to parking, there are a total of 61 parking spaces on the shared site with Taco Bell. 31 spaces were required for Taco Bell as part of their entitlement process, and there are 30 remaining for this building. So based on the net area that was provided to us by the applicant that will be used for healthcare services, and that is of course taking away, for example, hallways, storage areas, things like that, the staff estimates a parking requirement of roughly 16 spaces. Now that may, change a little bit by the time that we get to the permitting process based on any kind of tenant improvements that are made internally, but that's around the correct ballpark there. So this requirement will be easily met with remaining spaces. Staff doesn't have any concern that there will be any parking issues moving forward. It's just a little site plan here. This is definitely better than the aerial that I was showing earlier. So you can see building A here with the gray fill in that area with the parking spaces in the building. That is the lot that this will be taking place on. Building A is the building that this prospective tenant would like to rent out the entirety of. Building B up in the top right corner of this site plan is the existing Taco Bell building right there. This is just a photo of the site. And as I said earlier, they're planning on renting out this entire building for this use. So just some conditions of approval. These are also, I believe, listed on the staff report. So the first 5 conditions are fairly standard for planning projects. It's indemnification clause, time limit on the CUP, things like that. 6 to 9 here are the unique ones for this project. So we can see, for example, all parking on the site shall remain shared. That is something that we are planning on modifying. I'll get to that in a moment here. Hours of operation shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then there are 2 conditions from other departments. Public Works was requesting that any utility connections that are inadequately sized for a healthcare use would need to be resized to current standards prior to final. And Fire Department was requesting that the structure shall meet all fire code requirements for its newly designated healthcare services use prior to the final. So as I mentioned, we are slightly modifying conditions of approval that are listed on the staff report. If you look in the report, condition 6, which has a requirement for shared parking, turns out to be infeasible. We were in some discussions with the applicant, and they had brought up that the Taco Bell lease actually requires designated parking specifically for the Taco Bell. Applicant mentioned that they plan to realistically have a sort of a flow of shared parking between the lots, but just due to that lease requirement, it's not something that we could feasibly condition this project with. And so staff is recommending removing this condition from the resolution if approved. As for the staff recommendation for the project in general, we are recommending that Planning Commission adopts the draft resolution approving the use permit use 230099 and thereby allowing a healthcare service use at 1930 El Camino Real, of course, subject to conditions of approval. Naturally, there are alternatives here. The commission may approve modifications to the project or additional or less conditions of approval for the project. The commission may determine that more information is needed and continue the item. Or the commission may deny the permit, and in that case, they must specify the reasons for denial and make an associated finding with that action of denial. I do have a list of findings here that are required for approval of the project. This is, again, just for reference, so we can head back and take a look at these if need be during the discussion period. And with that, do we have any questions?
Questions of staff?
With the understanding about condition number 6 that you just said about being modified. I wanted to know, is there any street allowed parking in this area?
There is some street parking in this area, not a lot directly on the frontage of this
Mhm.
property, but it's going to be down the street a little bit.
Okay. And the
To the
reason
north.
why I'm bringing that up is experience that I know of is how the condition was worded about reserving places for patients. My wife works in the field and people don't obey those signs at all and they park in them anyway, and they pretty much walk away when someone says you're not allowed to park there and leave it at that. And so just wanted to identify that there may be issues with even the sign parking that's being reserved, but again, you've eliminated that condition through your comment. This area has had historically drainage issues. That's all been dealt with the improvements and so on. So there's all that's gone away now.
Yes, so any changes to this site would be essentially tenant improvements, primarily interior, maybe
Indoors,
adding a
yeah.
sign. So any drainage issues that would need to be addressed would have been addressed during construction of the building itself.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, we will go ahead and open the public hearing portion of the meeting. We'll invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to address us if they'd like. None? Okay. Anybody else from the public that would like to address us? Okay, then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to planning commission for the session or a motion. Is your mic on?
I'm sorry, I'll start again.
Yeah.
And recommend that the planning commission approve the resolution USE 23099, allowing a healthcare service use in the commercial tourist zoning district at 1930 El Camino Real with conditions as modified by staff.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes,
Commissioner Heath,
Yes.
Chairperson Vanden Eyck.
Yes,
Motion passes 4-0.
great, thank you. Congratulations and good luck with your project. Okay, that brings us to our next item, which is 9555 Santa Barbara Road Conditional Use Permit. Project to request seed snail sales of Christmas trees. Can I get ex parte on this project?
No ex parte, but I'll note that there were at least 2 letters that were forwarded to the
There was
commission.
3 total.
Are there any more besides those?
I think it was 3 total.
I didn't see the third.
Was it just sent through email?
So I'll note that there were 2 letters that I read. And, but beyond that, no ex parte.
Jason?
other than the letters, no ex parte.
Other than the letters, no ex parte.
Same here, no ex parte. We'll go ahead and have our staff report on this item, please.
Okay. So this is a conditional use permit for a seasonal tree farm at 9555 Santa Barbara Road. It is right on the southeast side of town. And the project ID for this project is USE 23-0082. So just a little bit of background on the project location. It is zoned RS or residential suburban. The general plan designation is suburban estates or SE, and the lot size is roughly 24.5 acres. And we can see from the aerial here, or I'm sorry, the zoning map here, that there is a Union Pacific rail line kind of bisecting the lot, as well as their right of way that kind of makes that little wishbone shape towards the middle of the lot. So if you look to bottom there, you can see that this is right on the edge of town that is unincorporated just to the south of it, and Santa Barbara Road, which is the road that this property is addressed on and is the road just south of it that you can see on the map there, is a road up that is operated and maintained by the county. So this is an aerial photo of the same property. Just take a moment to look at that there. So just a little bit of context about the site. As I mentioned, it's located on the southern edge of city limits bordering Santa Barbara Road, which is county right of way. It's split into 3 parts by Union Pacific right of way. The tree farm is located on the western side of that property, west of the kind of unmaintained right of way of Union Pacific on that property. Portion of the easternmost part of the property is in a floodway. That portion of the property does not include the tree farm. The applicants began planting trees in 2016 with plans to establish a seasonal Christmas tree farm. And the applicants obtained a temporary seasonal sales business license in 2022. When they did obtain a business license, city staff alerted them that in order to make this permanent, they would require a conditional use permit. As I mentioned right there. So onto the proposal. This is a conditional use permit that would allow seasonal agricultural sales of Christmas trees and in the future, other seasonal items such as pumpkins on the property at 9555 Santa Barbara Road. A little bit of analysis of the project with respect to our code. Conditional uses, as I mentioned in that last project, are those uses which may or may not be appropriate based on the specific location or operations of a use. So there's no code section in our code specifically related to permanent seasonal sales on residential properties. However, there are 2 code sections that we can glean a little bit of insight from, and that is 9-6117, titled Agricultural Produce Stands, and 9-6.174, which is titled Seasonal or Temporary Sales. So that first one I listed, agricultural produce stands, has a couple of requirements. First, it requires temporary stands to be located on a collector or arterial road. And additionally, it requires that the sales area be at least 200 feet from any adjacent residence. And that's not a residential property, but essentially any adjacent residential unit. So a home, apartment, whatever it may be, not necessarily the lot line. And we can look at 9-6174, seasonal or temporary sales. This limits sales locations to the site where the products are grown or to a private parking lot with permission of the owner. Now, 9-6174 is not necessarily, like I mentioned, exactly fit for this project because the use is listed as allowed in commercial zones only. However, I did add a note there. Minor conditional use permits can, of course, grant modifications to code standards as appropriate. Lastly, that seasonal or temporary sales page does require sufficient open area to accommodate all parking on site. And I'll get to parking in just a moment here. So the proposed project does meet all of these criteria, except for the commercial zoning requirement in 9-6174. But we will get to that in just a moment. So a little bit about the amenities on the site. The applicant is proposing minimal site amenities due to the seasonal nature of the use. There is, of course, not going to be a permanent stick-built sales building, anything like that. But the proposed amenities include, for example, portable restrooms, a sales shed and trailer, and temporary tents for pre-cut trees and additional sales support during busier times. And a condition has been added to the project to ensure maintenance of the rural or agrarian theme of these amenities. Essentially, what this condition really means in theory is that we really don't want to have, for example, a double wide trailer brought on or something like that, that would kind of take away from the existing agrarian theme of the site. So on to parking. Atascadero Municipal Code, parking requirements for this use vary a little bit. And we can go back to those 2 previously mentioned code sections to see what insight they might be able to give us. So that first one, the agricultural produce stands just requires 3 off-street spaces. This project meets that very easily. Second one, seasonal or temporary sales requires sufficient open area to be available to accommodate all employee and customer parking needs entirely on site. Now, this project provides an estimated 22 unmarked parking spaces plus space for overflow parking, which definitely exceeds these requirements. The applicant doesn't believe there'll ever be 22 people, on the site at a time. Staff tends to agree it's not likely to have that much traffic coming to the site or need as much parking as it has, but it has it. And if there are any overflow concerns, they can be met by the site. So just a site plan here. This was submitted by the applicant. So we could see Santa Barbara Road on the south there. We do have that little sales area that's kind of on the western end of the site. A tent for pre-cut trees just a little bit to the northeast of that sales area. We can see some circulation patterns coming from a driveway onto that dirt road there. And then the parking area towards Santa Barbara Road and a flat lower field just south of the actual trees for turnaround and for overflow parking. So just a few photos I'm going to present to the commission here. The first is the growing area, and you can see the trees in the background there, as well as the overflow parking that I just mentioned. It's essentially just the dirt lot that isn't as compacted as the rest of the dirt there that is planned to be used for overflow parking if that's ever necessary. You can see the main parking area here next to Santa Barbara Road. As I mentioned, it is unmarked, but it does have room for approximately 22 parking spaces. This is the sales area that I had mentioned earlier. As I mentioned, we did condition it to kind of maintain this rural agrarian theme. It isn't a huge operation, and it has a certain kind of appeal to it. So just some conditions of approval. Like last projects, the first 5 conditions are just standard conditions for planning projects. So we are doing some modifications to these conditions as well. So for number 6, we are clarifying one of the conditions here. Give me just a moment to pull this up on my staff report on my end. Sorry for the wait there. Okay, yeah, so number 6 here, we are essentially just clarifying which activities we are encouraging and requiring them to take place on the property. This was something that the county requested after meeting with the county. Of course, as I mentioned, Santa Barbara Road is a county road. And so we met with a representative from the San Luis Obispo County Public Works Department, and he wanted us to clarify just a little bit what we were requiring to have take place outside of county right of way. And so, of course, we've added this little bolded section here saying including but not limited to parking, sales, signage, and tree growing, saying that all of that must occur on the property outside of county right of way. You can see condition 7 here, essentially setting 2 5-week periods for sales. The intent with those 2 5-week periods is for, at least for this year, only really one of them to be used, that being for Christmas trees. The second 5-week period we were thinking would be, for example, for pumpkins in the future, just to give a little bit of leeway for other seasonal sales. We have number 8 here, limiting daily hours. Number 9, that condition that I mentioned just a moment ago, essentially enforcing that rural or agrarian theme if any updates or changes are made to the sales area. And then we have these last 2 conditions here. And these were essentially came to after negotiations with County Public Works. And so for number 10, it is essentially mandating that prior to commencing the activities that this use permit would allow, the applicant must submit to Department of Public Works of the county an encroachment permit and essentially make driveway improvements to the entrance driveway onto the property. And they were requesting this because the county does have some concerns about road damage. And I will get to that in just a moment here in this next slide, but we'll go to number 11 first here. This is essentially a performance condition stating that Community Development Department shall reserve the right to add additional requirements relating to traffic improvements if it's found to be necessary following this upcoming sales period. The applicant did not estimate that many people coming to the site. They were open last year, as I mentioned earlier, and I believe with communications with the applicant, they had said that they had less than 20 or 30 people a day on weekdays, up to, I believe, around 40 or 50 on the busiest weekends of the year per day. And so we're not expecting that much traffic to stem from this project, but the County Public Works Department did want us to add that, and we're on good terms. So we added that. Just a note on the conditions of approval. So this was something that came up after discussions with County Public Works and with the applicant. So that driveway improvement condition, as I mentioned, was requested by the county, and that was written verbatim on that slide from their communications. However, the applicant has informed staff that this condition poses a significant financial burden and may preclude the use of this property as a seasonal tree farm. So Planning Commission does have the ability to modify or remove this condition. And staff is suggesting that the condition be modified to instead require those driveway improvements prior to the start of the 2024 sales season. So this is something that came from some staff discussions as kind of a compromise that would hopefully allow this use to continue and come to fruition with seasonal Christmas tree sales, while also addressing county concerns and making sure that moving forward, those driveway improvements are made and can happen in a reasonable time frame. I was also informed by the applicant earlier today that they had already kind of gotten started on getting in touch with the county about the process of receiving an encroachment permit. And we're starting to look for different contractors, but believe that they just wouldn't have time before this season began to get those driveway improvements in place before they could start selling Christmas trees. And so there's both a financial and a time constraint at play here. And staff is, I guess you could just say, doing our best to balance the needs of the county and of the applicant.
And I'll note that the planning commission tonight has full discretion on any and all of these conditions, regardless of what the county or our staff's recommending.
So staff's recommendation is for the planning commission to adopt draft resolution approving use permit use 23-0082, allowing seasonal agricultural sales at 9555 Santa Barbara Road, subject to conditions of approval and subject to the modifications of those conditions that were mentioned earlier. And same alternatives as last time, we may approve modifications to the project or conditions of approval. The commission may determine that more information is needed and continue the item, and the commission may deny the permit if they provide findings for that denial. Again, the list of required findings to approve a conditional use permit, and if we need to, we can head back here for reference. So I would imagine there are likely some questions, so staff is open to answering those.
Questions of staff? Dennis?
Yeah, I do. The conditions seem to focus solely on sales of product that's grown on the property. Is there a reason why they couldn't, if they wanted this first a pine tree bark beetle or something knocks out all the trees, could they purchase trees from offsite and sell them at the property, or could they sell any other related products to Christmas, let's say, that might be made offsite and brought in?
So they are able to sell items that are produced off-site. They do already have an area actually for pre-cut Christmas trees that are grown off-site and delivered. The majority of their sales, at least to my understanding, are Christmas trees that are grown on site. As for other seasonal items, I honestly, I think we would need to go to Phil for that.
So the staff report is pretty clear on the Christmas trees and pumpkins, so we'd probably have to add other caveats. I mean, if someone wanted to do a holiday sale where they're selling crafts, it's going to be a little different. The idea is to sell seasonal agricultural products on the property that are associated with the property. So, I mean, the thing is, how far do you go with it? And are they doing sales all year? I think it's beyond what this particular CUP is looking at to expand it. Now, in conjunction with the Christmas tree sales, should they decide to sell, you know, amenities that go with the Christmas trees, that's not really an issue. We assume some accessory things that would go with that, and that's fine. We're not going to be out there inspecting that level of things, but it just, you know, for example, if after Christmas and now they're selling something completely different, that's not a scope of this particular request.
I just wanted to make sure that the applicants have agreed to the 2 5-week periods as far as the seasonal sales go, but they can then have other product there if they want to for those 2 periods of time.
I should note, I believe that they are planning on selling cider on the property as well. Staff has
That's
no issue with
accessory.
that. That's just accessory to the Christmas trees.
Yeah, I agree. And even the kind of the sales area kind of reminded me of a lot of other areas where they might have pygmy goats or something for kids to keep kids busy while you're doing your thing. Things buying trees. I had noticed on an aerial photograph that there is a dead end street off of Calle Milano. So coming up at Helcon and going through the subdivision, there's kind of a dead end street that has an appearance that's been driven through that point to Alondria Street, I think it is, or might be comes off of Santa Barbara to their place. Is there anything that prohibits people from taking that path to get there?
Yeah, well, there is extensive parking on the site. And that is a fairly circuitous path compared to just taking Santa Barbara. So we don't anticipate that there would be any issue with people taking alternate routes to the site. Because it would just be a quicker and more efficient process to go to the site as normal via Santa Barbara. And park there.
Shortcuts are shortcuts. People take them. I mean, there's actually apps now that shows you how to take the quicker ride around traffic on the highway, right?
And just for clarification, if we go back to the aerial photo, sorry, are you referring to, let me see here.
You have to go see an aerial of the subdivision.
Okay. Apologize for the delay here. Are you referring to the subdivision on the kind of top
Yeah,
left of the map here?
where you come
Okay.
up, go down Helicon and then you turn on Calle Milano and you come up into that subdivision.
Yeah, I should note that kind of T shape that's made with the compacted dirt on the southwestern portion of the property. That's the extent of where the trees are being grown.
Uh-huh.
And so on top of it being circuitous and a longer route to the destination, you are arriving on the site pretty far away from any kind of sales
There's
or tree
no,
growing.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
no
I-
direct access. The photo I had up is your direct route to the very front of the tree farm. So I don't think anyone's gonna look to take
And I'm
that
sure
back.
the applicants, if they find out people do that, we'll warn them, because there was one of the letters focused on traffic and changes in Santa Barbara Road. And right now, that particular subdivision is somewhat of a dead end subdivision. So all of a sudden, people start coming through to take a shortcut to this place, a few, who knows? Just, things can happen. The county B1A standard is a asphalt section for the road. So does the city have? I mean, I'm wondering, technically, this is not a rural area. And the B1A standard, BA1 standard is a rural driveway standard. And so that's what the county public works department said that would be a subject of the encroachment permit would be that standard. And so that's pavement from the edge of pavement plus a little bit of overcut to put it in to the property line is how that goes. So are the applicants aware of the extreme, not the, what the limits are of that standard?
Maybe you could help us clarify. So let's take a look at, let's go back to the street view because it might help us just sort of understand that. I'm gonna share that over. So our assumption, if we look at this site, and this is just latest, is that what the county would be asking for is asphalt to this gate.
Yep.
To the edge of this street, and that's it. Just this little tiny area right here.
Yes.
So not much, but the cost of asphalt now and doing that little section is still substantial. But
I
that's
mean, they'll have,
our
to,
understanding was just this little patch of gravel right here. That's it.
they'll have to saw cut out that.
Yeah, and then clean the edge
All
up.
that stuff too, and to make it.
But there's
work.
no way that that could occur prior to this sales season. So we're talking about, shifting that condition
And with the understanding that
next
the
year.
county knows that this is a temporary sales service. That. We're talking 2.5 months out of the year
If that,
with that.
Yeah, we heard-
And that a substitute wouldn't work, a gravel standard versus an asphalt standard, or even like we have seen on projects that have to provide sedimentation erosion control, where they'll put some gravel rock, where they might even have a screening laid down that allows for cars and trucks to run over it, to slow them down before they're going in. It just seems excessive for the use to have to go to that point. And so that's why I'm asking.
So staff, we did negotiate a little bit with the County Public Works Department. This is actually a kind of toned down version of their initial request. It was originally frontage improvements, road improvements, tens of thousands of dollars of improvements around a minor seasonal use. And so we are, as I mentioned, trying to balance the financial and time requirements of the applicant with the county's requirements, but we would agree that as presented, it is a little bit excessive, perhaps.
So that as far as the public works goes, and they're just saying, here's the standard, have it built. You don't have to do any improvement drawings or anything to show anything beyond, here it is, and put it in there.
As far as I'm aware, yes. It essentially, as I mentioned, we put the conditions down as verbatim as what was sent to us from the County Public Works Department. And they are essentially just requesting an encroachment permit and the improvements that are referenced in those different driveway and site distance standards.
How are the trees irrigated there? They by well, or is it on mutual water company, well, on meter?
That was not discussed with the applicant. That may be something that we could bring up when the applicant comes to the podium.
Because they would have to, with the water company, the water company would have to allow for the well to be used. And that's not an issue. Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions for staff? Jason?
Well, I just want to say kudos to the Public Works Department for trying to get all that work done. They're certainly trying to find every way to squeeze every penny out of their budget, so that's good. I do think it's a little bit excessive, so I do agree with Dennis. I did have a question about the turn onto the entrance. Are there any speed limitations, slow signs, or anything like that would be required to tone down traffic around that way? I would hate to see an accident happen at that road at that entrance.
That would be something I believe if we can get the street view up there, we might be able to glean some insight from. I don't remember seeing any when I did my site visit, but that was one of the county's concerns that we were somewhat in agreement with, was just that left turn onto there, because Santa Barbara is a bit of a rural road. People might be going a bit fast, but we will see in just a moment here if he shares his screen.
I assume that would be a county requirement because we couldn't require stuff to go on the county, in the county right of way.
I don't believe we can condition the project that way.
Stand there asking for site distance.
Mhm.
so we're gonna take a drive down the road. It does say the road may flood. There is a sign there. Probably happened this past year, I imagine. It's a very rural character road. I don't see any signs at all. It's a very soft corner, as you can see all the way around this corner. The gate to the property is right there. So very clear sight distance for someone pulling down this road and into this site. And the corner beyond that is also very soft. There's no hard bend here. No significant sight distance issues. It's very open. So looking, both directions, it's not much of a curve at all.
And if you want to go back to that house across the street, they had a BA1 standard driveway. That was brand new. You can see it right
There it is. Yeah. There's the standard approach, which ends at this concrete. It really ends at the property line
Yeah.
pretty much. So That's a duplicate of actually what the county would be asking for. The little asphalt apron and saw cut into the street. So it's a transition.
Thank you for that little tour. Appreciate that.
Any questions, Greg? Greg?
No, I was just trying to remember. I think last year I remember driving down this road and a lot of it was flooded. Kind of in front of that house.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, then we will go ahead and open the public hearing and invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to address us if they'd like. Can you turn the mic on? It might take a second. There it goes.
Oh, there we go. Robert Road, it's been in our family for almost 90 years. You want me to stop? Oh, there it goes.
Stay real close to it if you can. I don't know why it's cutting out.
Change that. Thank you. There we go. I was born and raised there. My dad was born and raised there. So we have a lot of knowledge of the road and the traffic and all of that. So I wanted to ease your mind real quick about the Cali Riano Road that you were talking about. Alondra is on the backside of our 45 acres property, and there is a fire gate that is closed at all times. So nobody can come through there. So even if they saw it on a map for a shortcut, they wouldn't be able to get through. And then also just to ease your mind a little bit about the entrance and exiting and oncoming traffic and stuff, it's about 400 feet, as he did show, to that corner. So hopefully people aren't driving like maniacs, which can't be guaranteed. But last year it seemed to go pretty well. Didn't seem like we have any major issues. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. We did bring in some pre-cut trees last year from Oregon because unfortunately in our climate, we can't grow the pretty nobles that they can and that a lot of our customers enjoy. So we did bring in a few of those to have as an alternative to our pine trees.
My only issue was that you were allowed to do that, and I didn't want to prohibit
Oh,
that
okay.
from occurring.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. We also sold some wreaths last year too, so we're hoping to do that again.
Any questions of the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else who would like to speak?
Hello, my name is Lisa Stradley and my husband Bill Stradley and I live across the street in the house that was on your slide. And we were there last year when they opened for a short time and there were no problems at all. And it was just a very joyful. Yeah, and we look forward to it. It's a fun time. It's a wholesome family environment. And I think that's what this town likes and promotes. So we are for them and for their business and hope that everything goes well for them.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Corey George. I'm Amy George's lesser half. So I did want to be able to address some of the other questions. Watering is drip irrigation. We have talked with Tascadero Mutual Water Company because they have a right of way that goes to their well. So they know how much we use and sorry. So we have worked in a partnership with them on that aspect and you know, good seasons, we don't have to water. So that was number one. We did trim the tree that you saw on the Google map to provide additional visibility down the road for the exit. So we did want to address that to make sure the commission knows we take those concerns very seriously and we want to address anything ahead of schedule. As far as the paving, as Mr. Mountain did allude to, it is very expensive so far. The general quotes we were told are double normal because it's the end of the year. Everybody's trying to get projects. So this is not a big operation. There's not a large profit. I can promise you there's no profit right now. And so my wife and I, our vision was to fulfill her grandmother's vision, which was to create an experience for people. Luckily, I have another job that can afford these losses for now, but you know, the asphalt was kind of a big surprise for us that we are gonna, if required, we will move forward with, but at a minimum, we do hope that it can be delayed to 2024. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of the meeting and bring it back to the planning commission for any discussion.
With the general plan update, and I don't know if the applicants have asked you this, is there any desire on their behalf to maybe be able to have the use longer than this period that we're talking about right now, and then that be subject of a general plan discussion? Is there some avenue for that in what's being done?
That discussion is more of a zoning ordinance discussion when we get down to the details after we adopt the general plan. General plan is going to be much broader in scope and its policies much broader. And what you're talking about is a level of detail that we would write into a seasonal sales ordinance or, you know, something similar to that would come after the general plan update. We are planning to do substantial amendments to Title IX following the general plan update. That's likely going to happen in 2025. And so that's where we can discuss that level of detail.
Thank you.
Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Make the motion to adopt the resolution of the planning commission of the city of Atascadero, California, approving a conditional use permit, use 23-0082, allowing seasonal agricultural sales in the RS zoning district. APNs are 5311. With the modifications of 6-3.
Can you put that modification of condition up there?
That was already in there, though,
Yeah, oh, it's 6.
as the staff is modified.
You had a different screen that
It
showed
was 6 through 11.
that one prior to the start of the 21st.
Did that cover it?
So just to be clear, are we, is this motion for the 2023, the 2024, or removing that requirement entirely?
With the movement to 2024.
2024, okay.
You have a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Chairperson Vanden Eyck.
Yes,
Motion passes 4-0.
congratulations and good luck on your sales this season. I'll have to bring my kids
Go
out
out
there.
and see you guys. Look like nice trees.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to our director's report.
Thank you, Chair. It's a nice brief night. We've had some long nights and hearings lately. Last week with the city council was no exception. I do want to let you know about your next hearing. It is scheduled for November 8th. We do have a very minor sign exception, so another easy night. It's for the Arco gas station. They want to put some additional signage on their canopy. But I will tell you that before this year is out, these hearings are going to get a little more challenging. We're going to bring some really heavy stuff. We're going to be talking about some significant amendments to Title IX to be able to adopt our objective design standards. That's an item that will eventually move on to City Council. Right now, we're hoping to bring that to you on, believe November 14th for that. I don't think that's on the November 8th hearing. It's not on this particular calendar, but we'll see how that unfolds. Our goal is to try and get that to the City Council by the end of the year. So that project's coming along. Also want to let you know about some other subtle changes. You'll see Kelly a little bit more here at these planning commission hearings in my place. She has actually been promoted to planning manager. She's no longer a senior planner. So she's going to have some additional duties tacked on. She's going to do a little more of the planning commission liaison. She's going to be leading our planning team a little further. We're also going to hire a new senior planner to replace her. So we'll have an assistant, an associate, and a senior planner and a planning manager. All working together as we've got so much happening right now that's stacking up. So a little bit of a change in how that rolls out. I'll still be here for the very substantial items and the items that move on to City Council. But for the conditional use permits and normal run-of-the-mill planning commission items, Kelly will be your person. She'll be your liaison. And she'll also be helping to guide you through training and guiding you through sort of, meeting ahead of time and talking about projects and the whole bit. That concludes my report for you tonight. If you've got any other questions, I'm here.
There was a phone call that came across last week about having a meeting not on Tuesday night. And was there a date sound certain from that
We
discussion?
are asking for your attendance at a special hearing date. So was that a Wednesday?
Wednesday, the 8th.
So that number is
The 8th.
The 8th.
is the
That's what I
8th?
mentioned earlier. So that is a Wednesday.
Right.
And it's because of the city council that we're trying to fit stuff in for the end of the year. So
They were just asking questions whether I could be there or not, and I just said I could be at each of the dates, and I didn't hear back as far as when.
I think we
didn't
are.
know.
We did want to get objective design standards that night, did we not? I don't see it on this calendar, but we'll let you know. Anyway, I think we did want to do that. And if we are doing objective design standards, I will let you know well ahead of time. I'm going to get you some information as early as I possibly can, because it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a big discussion. It's going to really impact the zoning in a lot of different ways, but very positively. And really, in general, the idea of that is to have a streamlined process for multifamily residential projects that meet a set of standards instead of having them go through a discretionary conditional use permit process. So that's in a nutshell, but it's a little more complex than that.
Can you tell us the outcome of the 2 amendments that went to the City Council?
Yes,
last
2
Tuesday?
appeals went to City
Oh, the
Council.
appeals.
Thanks for asking that question, Chair. We were here till 1:30 a.m. this past Tuesday. So the first one was the appeal of the Grand Oaks decision the Planning Commission made. And what the City Council did is they just reverted back to the Grand Oaks original approval. So they, essentially what the Planning Commission had done was allow them to modify their common open space area. And then the Planning Commission asked them to come back to look at, modifying the community room. What the City Council did was they took away that amendment and just left their project unchanged from its original approval. The issue of concern there was really making sure those existing homeowners have the amenities that they bought into when they purchased their homes in that project. Council was really concerned about that. Some of the homeowners were really vocal about that. And That may come back to us again because they may still want to do some changes, but our biggest concern was protection of homeowners and making sure that goes along. And I think the council was uncomfortable with them losing their significant amenity. So as it stands now, they're going to continue moving forward. We actually did final some units out there today. We have made an agreement with Grand Oaks. They signed an agreement with us and posted a bond for the improvements, which allowed for the units to be completed and occupied anyway. So we have some happy homeowners today that get to move in. Excited to announce that. The other one was the RV storage lot out on Sycamore. We actually received 2 appeals on that. Both of them were based on environmental concerns. The the city council overturned those appeals and approved the project as it was approved by the planning commission, but did add a couple of performance conditions to be sure that there weren't spills on the property, put trays below the RVs, and to address just the cameras and lights and motion sensors so that the lights wouldn't come on all hours of the night. Healthy discussion. We had a great turnout that evening for both of those items, but especially the RV storage. A lot of folks wanted to talk about it. A lot of folks, I think, misconstrued what that storage project was and felt that it was actually in the Salinas River. It's not in the Salinas River. It's on a vacant lot adjacent to the Salinas River that had been graded many years ago for industrial land uses. And it's been zoned industrial on our general plan since about 1980. Which is the city's first incorporation general plan. So the city council felt strongly that that land use option of industrial uses should continue on that property because we don't have much industrial land. That was one of the overwhelming reasons for supporting this land use of the RV storage, which isn't the most exciting land use, I must admit, but it was a precedent of not having industrial uses on this property that was essentially not a property that would produce substantial environmental impacts, has no trees, has no drainage. It's flat, it's previously graded, it's been filled. So they wanted to make sure that happened. So that got approved. And we'll see how that moves forward.
I had watched the hearings and the one about the small homes that I found interesting is that the applicant's tune changed a little bit. And then our city manager came with a way of resolving the situation of securing performance where we had the condition that said you had to do this work prior to the release of those 4 units. So the agreement that was brought up by the city manager was that they could allow for the sale of those units and then also secure that the structure would be built. But the applicant's tune changed quite a bit. And then as far as the motor vehicle facility or the RV lot, John Neal was on the East Coast at the time, and so he was waiting on the phone. It was way past 12 o'clock on the East Coast when he got to speak, and I was surprised not surprised. I was happy to see his patience with that, and he got to speak, and he spoke well as he always does.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We will go ahead and adjourn to our November 8th meeting. Thank you.